Well, I was just going to ask about brand. I mean, you both got lovely brands, and I see Curvy Birdie here and Tinkebu, the names of the two brands we're talking about. I'm just wondering about how you arrived at those brands. You must have made those decisions along the way, and what sort of, what did that journey look like, and how did you get there?
Yeah, I can say mine came to me in a dream, because it kind of did, really. Because obviously for Curvy Birdie Golfwear indicates that the people that my customers are rather more curvier than the leaner ladies that...
I was focused on the fact they score birdies every time.
And that too, of course, yeah, and that too. And I must admit, I kind of thought, what on earth can I call it? And I wanted to have some kind of golfing reference. So birdie was going to be fine, birdie for the birdies. And I was going to call it Fat Birdie to start with. Mm-hmm. But I'd seen, I saw Dragon's Den, and there was a gentleman there who developed cycling gear for the plus size person, men mainly, and he called it Fat Lad at the Back. And although we found it funny, and it was kind of it's hilarious, the Dragons really slated him for that. Yeah. So I thought, well, I can't go with Fat Birdie. It's not gonna, it suits me, sense of humour wise. But and then it was my daughter-in-law who said, well, why not Curvy? And it just rang well, Curvy Birdie, and I just drew my little bird, and that was it. And then I had a graphic designer, and that was it.
So you still brought in a graphic designer to make it tidy, and what do they do for you?
She basically designed it as it is there, gave me the brand guidelines. I made sure that I had the copyright for that, so I was able to sign that over from her.
And Tinkebu was actually born out of one of the endless discussions my wife and I had about what we would do with our surname after getting married. Neither of us were willing to budge, and it still wasn't resolved on the day of the wedding. So my brother-in-law, who was playing the Master of Ceremonies, cleverly introduced us as Mr. and Mrs. Tinkebu, a combination of our two names. We've affectionately been known as a family as the Tinkebus ever since.
Do you have children?
We do. We've now got a 1-year-old daughter. Again, another inspiration for...
So a little Tinkerboot.
Exactly, yes. And when I knew I wanted to set up a little kids' wooden toys and furniture company, Tinkebu was just the perfect match.
Fantastic.
I love
it. You can
it.
see these boxes here, they're very low key, aren't they?
Yeah,
very simple.
Everything about us is quite simple. My wife and I like to think that we've got an eye for design, and we created the logo ourselves. It was just an online platform that enabled you to play around with some fun fonts. Produced it, we're happy with it. Not to say that it won't change in the future, but again, it was that idea of just put something out there and see if people like it.
And how important was the Made in Cornwall tagline?
For me, it's pretty important. I make everything by hand in my garage, and our products, are reflective of the landscape that we live in. And
I drove behind one of those on the way here.
That's why you were late.
Not behind one of those.
It all came together. And I like to make things out of reclaimed wood where possible. Handmade in Cornwall. Everything's unique, perfectly imperfect. It all seems quite natural and goes together well with our brand.
I just had another question about customers and how you keep the customer at the centre of the focus as you're building your brand and the message and the value proposition that you're creating. How do you do that? Is it difficult? Do you speak to your customers or potential customers? How does that work?
Well, I saw my customers once a week, every week for quite a long time because I played golf with them. And it was lucky enough I was, I had that at my fingertips basically, or at the end of my golf club, so I got a lot of good feedback from them. I used 3 or 4 of them specifically to have sort of little forums and to really give me all the feedback, not just the good stuff, I had to have the bad stuff as well.
Do you find you have to deliberately lose to them, is that? thing then?
I had to deliberately lose to them, absolutely, yeah.
And what sort of feedback do they give you?
It was mainly about the design initially, because I would make designs that would be suitable for me, but it wouldn't be suitable for somebody else, and so I had to try and get the medium, you know, the kind of like
Happy
what,
medium.
yeah, what would be suitable for everybody. So it was mainly the design aspect, that I would make stuff, they'd wear it, then they'd feed back to me as to if it was too tight, if it was too loose, if the pockets weren't big enough, if they were too big, and so that's
like
what I was after.
The classic minimum viable product testing stuff, so much in startups.